when you say you're just gonna save money, it doesn't sound like, from my experience with hanging out with people that have lots of money and
Mm-hmm.
people that have very little money or are financially struggling, most of the abundant people, I've never heard them say anything like that. I'm just gonna save money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny that I'm not sure where the idea comes from, and you may be able to explore this right now while I'm on the phone with you, but did the idea come from that money, it takes like a year to get money and save it, rather than more money that, like, what makes you think, like, how much money do you want to save for the year?
Well, I don't know. I just want to save as much as I can because I want to be able to be out as long as I can.
What would be a good number?
Well, I don't know. I'd like to save like maybe like six, seven, $8,000.
Cool. All right. So let's say let's do 10,000. Like let's say that this next year you live in a camper with like you live in your own camper on your parents' property with the intention to transition to taking the camper out on the road. Is that correct? With the truck that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
buy, and then travel for about a year. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so now where did the idea come from that's gonna, do you just want to spend a year there, or why not receive $10,000 tomorrow?
Because I won't make $10,000 tomorrow.
Oh, no, okay, why not?
Well, because I'm a poor hairdresser.
Okay, well that's funny. So I've definitely received larger amounts of money than $10,000 for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that?
I think one thing is I put myself in the way of lots of money. I started hanging around extremely financially abundant people, very healthy people that don't think in limitations and more explore what hasn't been done before or people think is impossible, whether it's with money or whether it's with a new company or whether it's physically or mentally or spiritually. So yeah, all kinds of miraculous things started happening with money that definitely did not come from me saying I'm just going to save money. It was more correlated with me starting to believe that I have access to all the money in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when I really believe that's closer to the truth than I don't have money, because there's even new currencies being birthed right now. Like, I'm not sure you've heard of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. This is a whole new type of money that's gaining a lot of friction and leverage. I actually traction. I mean, a lot of traction, and I've been investing in that a little bit. I invested in it today, and I'm not planning on to spend it. I'm just thinking, oh, it seems like this is very fertile soil. If I put money in here, more money comes out. So I'm wondering, or if I, and then at the same time, I know I'm going back and forth on a few different topics here, but I want to make sure I express the importance of when I shifted my vibration from a place of thinking there's a limited amount of money that I have at once versus realizing I have access to all of it, and I can start working in a bank, and then how much more access to money I have. And there's something about seeing the reality of that, then all of a sudden I've become much more of a magnet for money, where people, for instance, one day I asked someone to personal train them for 4 days that I had met in person for the first time, and they asked me for how much, and I said $7,000, and they paid me $7,000 that night, and they didn't want to do any personal training.
Oh gosh.
So do you see right there that what you're hoping to make in 1 year, it almost seems by accident I made more than that in one night.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing to do is realize that you're much more than a poor hairdresser. A poor hairdresser is a role that you're playing currently. And now to call it poor, that's a whole nother perception. I guess that's probably based on some kind of reality that you've lived in, where people taught you that money is not, that you don't have access to all the money in the world. They told you some other kind of story, I'm imagining. So
Yeah.
these are both things of your past, and you can continue being a poor hairdresser if that's what your biggest heart's desire. But something based on you telling me you want to travel the world, it doesn't sound necessarily like that's like your highest calling.
Yeah, definitely not.
So I'm curious how we have about 3.5 more minutes here. How long is it? How long do you want it to take to transition from a poor hairdresser to a nomad that has access to all the money in the world?
Well, instant would be amazing.
Okay, so I think that if you start behaving that way and you really can believe that and walk by faith and sight, I'm not telling you to go buy everything you can today, because if that's your main intention, to buy everything you can in one day or in a week, or I'm not sure if that's the vibration of abundance. That still seems like a vibration of scarcity, like, oh my gosh, I have money, let me spend it. What I'm saying is you would probably be so relaxed and meditative on what's the best thing you can do for the most amount of people today. If you really believe that you have $1 million in the bank account, or if you believe you have access to all the money in the world, and since everyone is our family and all of our bank accounts are connected, and technically in a way we do, we can just press a few buttons on the computer and money goes, $1 million can go from one place to the next, and it's really no money's going anywhere. It's actually an illusion. So I think when we wake up to that idea that these numbers on a screen don't dictate our reality as much as our inner state does, like the symbols of our heart, then I don't think until you make that shift, that once you make that shift, I believe that is instantaneously happening. Because now I'm talking to someone that has access to all the money in the world, and they're not identified only with being a poor hairdresser.
Mm-hmm. So how do I make that a reality, though? How do I make me really have all the money?
You are a human being, so you be it. You be it. You really be it. Do you know any, like, who's the person that you know that has the most amount of money?
I don't really know that many rich people. I have a few clients that have lots of money.
Maybe you want to go have dinner with them and ask them how do they gain access to so much money, and how can you?
Okay.
I would think that would be a great start.
Yeah.
Not with the expectations that they're going to give you any money, but more with the reality that you're going to give them the gift of your presence, and you're going to really listen to them. People love being listened to. That's one of the greatest gifts that we can give to each other, is really listen to each other. So maybe you can ask them to go out to dinner and really listen to what they're saying, like feel what they're saying, listen to what they're not saying, listen to what's not being said with words, what's being said with their body, and pay real close attention and have a good time. And then maybe ask them some questions of how did they wake up to the reality of having so much access to so much money.
Okay.
Would you want to set up 2 of those dates in the next week? Would you like to commit to that with our last 20 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to send me a message in a week and then tell me how they went?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I would enjoy you. Go ahead.
For my last question, do you have any book recommendations?
Oh, on this topic, there is a book that's coming to my mind right now from Esther Hicks, and it's something about, I don't know if it's called The Law of Attraction, but it's something with Esther Hicks and money.
Okay.
She has a great dialogue that's, I think, is very on this topic that we're talking about.
Run, guan, guan, guan. Run, guan, guan, guan. Run, guan, guan, guan. Run, guan, guan, guan. Run, guan, guan, guan.